All right, I know I'm late to this episode of The Last of Us, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. The plot for it is pretty much this. After abandoning their truck in Kansas City, Joel and Ellie attempt to escape without drawing the attention of a vindictive rebel leader. All right, let's get into some of the things that happened in this episode. And the first thing I'm going to say is that something I haven't mentioned for this show so far, and it's pretty much my only criticism for the show, is the fact that I'm not really buying Joel and Ellie's relationship. And I understand that in the game over time, they do eventually get to know each other and become kind of a father-daughter relationship. And in this episode, compared to the other episodes of the show so far, we see Ellie telling jokes to Joel and trying to get him to, crack a smile and just laugh a bit. And obviously it's not working, but throughout the episode, he starts to open up slowly and become more than just a bodyguard for her. Another thing that we get in this episode is that we get a little car driving scene where Joel is actually telling Ellie about why he's doing this mission pretty much, and it's pretty much just so that he can see his friend again. We don't know as an audience on whether or not this guy is alive or not, but Joel really does believe that he is out there, and he tells Ellie why he cares about the guy so much, and we kind of get a backstory on the guy, which makes us care about this character that we haven't really seen that much of. Another thing that we get in this episode is that we get a shootout scene, and while Joel and Ellie are in this city, they end up seeing a person in front of them, and they end up trying to, run the guy over because they don't know his agenda, they don't know what he's gonna do. And then eventually the car actually gets hit with traps and the wheels end up getting flattened, and then it turns into a straight shootout. And obviously Joel is pretty good with guns, so he ends up killing most of these guys. But then towards the end of this scene, a certain guy almost has him on the brink of death, and Ellie, who had a gun on her from the last episode, I believe, ends up shooting the person, which obviously, if you've seen the scene, you know that had a really big effect on Ellie, because before a certain scene later, we get information that she had never killed someone, which was a lie, but in that moment we didn't know that. And I mean that she doesn't actually kill the guy, but she does shoot him, and Joel ends up finishing the job for her because Joel doesn't want the innocence of Ellie to be completely wiped away, even though it's probably already gone. And in fact, later in the episode, Ellie asks Joel about whether or not killing gets easier, and Joel pretty much just replies that it doesn't get easier because killing someone in general, doesn't matter what period of time, can never really be easy. And later on in this episode, we get introduced to a new character named Kathleen, and she is a horrible human being. And the show lets you know that pretty much from the first scene where she is interrogating someone, and she is making sure that this person that she's looking for gets killed. And even if she doesn't get the information out of you, or even if she does get the information out of you, she's going to kill you right after. And then in a couple scenes after, she ends up killing a group of people who really haven't done anything that bad, but she kills them anyway just because of how ruthless they are. And even her bodyguards or security guards are questioning some of the decisions that she's making. And during this episode, Kathleen and her henchmen pretty much find one of their members dead on the floor, which causes a witch hunt to find the murderers for one of their fallen members. And Joel and Ellie happen to be the people who ended up killing this person. So now for the rest of the episode, they're trying to stay away from these people because if they find them, they're going to be dead. And to end off this episode, Joel and Ellie are cracking more jokes and having more fun. And then that scene ends up, stopping, and they end up going to sleep. And by the time Joel wakes up, he sees these two people having a gun towards Ellie and one towards him. And that's pretty much the end of the episode.